Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary or the situation report of the SITREP for the day of 878 for the 20th of July. The frontline changes report has been out, and people are very triggered by the title. They think it's clickbait. I wrote the title as the front lines are all collapsing, and people started to cope really badly. They don't think the front line is collapsing. Like, so every day, Ukrainian forces has been losing ground every single day for the past I don't know how many months, 6 months or more. Every single day, you guys have been following me, for especially those that have been following on a daily basis. You guys know every day I'm reporting frontline changes reports, and every single day Russians is making progress. And we went from Adievka city was under Ukrainian control to the point where it's under Russian control, and the front line has already went so far away from Adievka city that I have to start considering whether to call it the Pokrov front. And now Krasnohorivka is falling. Number of villages and towns has been fallen to the Russians. Frontline strategic situations are breaking up. The entire strategic the status quo is now getting challenged. Still not collapsing. So by the time what is collapsing, I don't know what is called collapsing. So no, the cope is strong in them, very very strong. And then of course when they lose, they start to say that, oh no, the Russians lost all these grounds, no, all these grounds. Like, yeah, so those are not fought and won per se. Most of it is they put a challenge on the Russian forces, and the Russian decided to just leave. So, but this current front line is Ukrainian resisting and fighting all the way, and they're still losing ground. There's a huge difference in these two different scenario. So whatever it is, you can do whatever you want. You can think whatever you want. It doesn't change anything on the ground. So anyway, there after the frontline change, there's still one more frontline change over the past few hours. Over by Crimea Caprice, there is a Russian geolocation of Russian forces northeast of Nevelsky, and then the Russian forces basically have taken more grounds over in the area of Nevelsky. We finally have this update. This salient is finally collapsing. And again, what did I say? What did I just say? The Ukrainians are losing ground constantly. So no, what more? This not collapsing. I don't know why it's collapsing. And if they think that collapsing means that in one single day Russian forces attack all the way to the region of Pokrov, that is fantasy. That is not going to happen, because firstly, Ukrainians are not going to do that because of the doctrine of the Ukrainian defense. And the thing is that if they retreat this much, if the Ukrainians retreat this much, they're going to not get them back ever again. So the Ukrainians are holding the grounds as long as they can until the negotiated peace, where they can keep as much Ukraine as they can. That is the current game plan for the Ukrainian forces. There is no counterattack that's going to come. Even if they are going to form a counterattack, it's going to be weaker than the one in the 2023 counteroffensive, because there's no more equipments. There just doesn't exist the equipments for the Ukrainians to do another 2023 style counteroffensive. So they are defending whatever they can. And the Russians are not going to incur in this way, even if the Ukrainians withdraw this far away. The main reason is because they don't want to get into ambushes, booby traps and whatnot. They will still progress slowly. So if you go this far out and then you capture this much ground, then what happens is that you will start to encounter partisan actions or guerrilla warfare. So the Russians are not going to do something like this, and they're going to take their own sweet time. So, and even if they capture certain grounds, you probably will have noticed, if you have been following DPA, that they always capture certain grounds. They will hold there for a few days, at least a few days, as they sort out the conquered grounds. They clean the mines, they clear out the houses, they do clearing operations. There is not going to be this one big chunk of Ukraine and suddenly drop into Russian hands. It's not going to happen. That's fantasy. So that kind of operation can only happen at the beginning of any war. This is how the German forces able to blitzkrieg all the way into France and capture France. because it is a blitzkrieg. It's the beginning of the war. But once the war become mature, it's very hard to push. Very, very hard, unless the lines are cracking and collapsing. So we are now starting to see the real start of the collapsing, where the Ukrainian forces is really struggling to hold the grounds. And this has been ongoing not just over the past 24, 48 hours. It has been happening over the past month. And it's only now that I start to feel like, no, perhaps the Ukrainians are really not able to hold anymore. So it is what it is. People want to cope, go on. It's not my country. I'm not pro-Russia either. Russia do well, doesn't make any difference to me. The Ukrainians do badly or do well also doesn't matter to me. I just continue to report. I earn the YouTube revenue. I get to pay my house, pay my car, pay my bills. Yeah, it's blood money, but it is money. And I get to inform you guys, and you guys get good information. Everybody wins. All of us, we are just watching a football match. There's nothing. There's nothing we can do about this war. It's beyond us. It's fought at the highest level, at the elite level. So don't cope so much. Unless you can convince an MP, and one single MP can convince a country to give up all their military equipments to Ukraine, or go to war to Ukraine, or go to war in Ukraine. Yeah, then you can make a difference. But but the thing is, the pro-Ukrainian side is not going to make that difference, because they think that Ukraine is winning. They think that the Ukrainians are are taking out 10 Russian soldiers for every Ukrainian soldiers, or 15 or 8. I don't know what's the ratio. It's always picked from the air. Yeah, Ukraine can take out one. Let's say 1:3. Okay, one Ukrainian soldier can take out 3 Russian soldiers, despite Russia have air supremacy, artillery supremacy, tomahawk missiles, lancers, and superior number of soldiers, and somehow Ukraine is killing more. Then why the hell Ukraine have not been winning more over the past 2 years? They have to wait until only the mobilized troops is so good that they can actually kill so many. The well-trained troops can't even beat this number, this record, against Russia's contract troops, which is not that well-trained. So the Russia's troop today is veterans. They are all vets. They have been fighting in this war for the past 1 year, at the very least, since the partial mobilization. So at least they are fighting at 1.5 years already. Most of these troops in the Russian side is all veterans, and they're fighting against mobilized troops on the Ukrainian side. And the Ukrainian side are trouncing the Russians 10-1. Despite Russians have superior armored numbers, artillery numbers, air force, sure, whatever, man. You happy can already. Just remember to press the like button and subscribe. So let's go into Nevelsky, I mentioned the frontline change. So go into the strategy and tactical reporting, and we go into the Kharkiv front. So at the Kharkiv front, there is, as usual, the Lipsy sector, Staresia, as well as the Voschan sector. At the Lipsy sector, there is still continued Russian actions over at Klipoke as well as Lipsy, with some shelling or fighting in the area of Mari Prokori. The previous action about the Ukrainians trying to land troops over in the Traviansky reservoir is not repeated, and the Ukrainians over at the Dacha region north of Lipsy continue to get airstrike by the Russians. So when the Russians airstrike, Russian troops die. In the 10th of every bomb drop on the Ukrainian positions, 10 Russian soldiers will die for no reason at all. So anyway, we move on. Over at the Staresia, Russian forces geolocated over in there's a western part of Staresia, confirming Russian presence in this region, corroborating some of these Russian claims and invalidating Ukrainian ones. And I mentioned in the frontline changes report, this may also suggest that the Russians may have the entire road along this Staresia. Only the Ukrainians are holding the outskirts over at this region here. There is a possibility, and there is also reported of Russian offensive actions in the Staresia region. So it is this is what we understood at this moment. So we move on over to the Voschan sector. Over the Voschan sector, there is no more fighting reported in the Taikei or the Voschansk-Tori region. Ukrainian counter-offensive action over on the eastern part of Voschansk also is not reported. We only have general reports of Russian attacking over in the area of Voschansk. We are not clear exactly where the vector of attack is. Is it in the high-rise zone, or is it just general skirmishes with the Ukrainian forces? My gut feeling is it's just general skirmishes. That means the Russians are holding position, they are not moving forward, they're just holding there, and they'll just bleed the Ukrainians out. But of course, every time the Ukrainians get sniped, suddenly on the Russian side, 10 soldiers will die for no apparent reason. They'll get high attack and they just suddenly die. So yeah. So anyway, over at this at the factory region, or over on the western part of this peninsula, there is an airstrike being geolocated, and 10 Russian soldiers died in the airstrike on the Ukrainian position. We move on away from Voschansk. Okay, there is one more. There's another airstrike. Another 10 Russian soldiers died for no reasons at all. So we move on to the Kupiansk front. Yeah, so at the Kupiansk front, we have fight actions over in the Sinkivka region, and of course in the Pshani region. Over at the Sinkivka region, there is actually no reports of fighting over at Sinkivka. I'm not sure if I missed it, or yeah, I'm not sure. Did I miss it? No, I didn't miss it. So there is actually no reports of fighting at Sinkivka. Ukrainian Defense Ministry mentioned the fighting is over at the Petropavlivka region, which is over here. And there is, however, some airstrike or artillery striking Ukrainian positions over in the southwest of Sinkivka. So you know what I'm gonna say? Yes, 10 Russian soldiers got heart attack due to the airstrike. So we move on over in there is a geolocation at near the Timkovka Zagorokivka region. There is some artillery strike confirming a Ukrainian presence around here. And over at the Pshani region, we have the first declaration by any side of the capture of Pshani. The Ryba, the pro-Russian source, reported that the Russian forces have taken Pshani, which is basically this entire banana over here. The banana is actually fatter. Something like this. It's actually a very ugly lips. So some botched cosmetic surgery around here. So, but this is a claim. I didn't see the Russian mapping. So the Russians did not map this yet, or at least I didn't see it. So based on the Ukrainian mapping, the Russian forces actually have some decent ground control over Pshani, and based on geolocation, I map it is around here, which this is where the Russians raised a flag. They are pretty relaxed as they raise the flag, so most likely the zone of safety is pretty wide, and there's a high chance that the Ukrainian forces may have withdrawn from this area. It's pretty relaxed, but it's not super relaxed in Pshani. Over later in the Avdiivka front, I'll talk about the other one, which is very relaxed. So Russian forces are raising flags, and Ukrainian is winning. So anyway, I have to tell you, Slava Ukraini, Hirom Yam, Tom Yam, Slava. And over at the Berestove, Russian forces are also reportedly attacking. But there is no news regarding Berestove. Sorry, I hit the mic. Yeah, very pissed off. So Berestove, not exactly sure what's happening. Like, we would have expected the Russians to have captured Berestove for real, for the entirety, but there's no mapping to reflect that, despite the declaration by the Russian Defense Ministry that they have captured Berestove. So we just have to continue to wait for more corroboration regarding this action. Over the Svetove front, we have two Stemakivka region, and then we have the Makievka region where the actions are there's some actions over there. Over at the Stemakivka region, there is Russian attacks reported in this area, and there is some severe frontline changes over at the Ngivka region. Russian forces geolocated at the Zerane. This is also another flag raising. The Russians raised another flag declaring no firm control over Zerane, although we have always mapped this under Russian side or Russian control, or they have captured it previously. So not entirely sure. Maybe they never had very, very firm control. Like, they didn't have troops inside the town, so now they raised the flag to signify that they are now here. So over at the Ngivka region, the Russian forces have conquered 2 tree lines And these two tree lines will allow the Russian forces to attack into the Zeribets River and cross over it. So they can actually continue to attack westward, or they can go down the road, attack Andreevka. Taking Andreevka would be very useful because this is considered probably a crossing over to the other side of the river. So let's take a look at this mapping. You can see that there is a crossing around here. So and if you look at the satellite imagery, you can see that you can't really tell it's maybe a bridge or something. And capturing Andreevka would be a good operating position and base for the Russians to then continue to fight westward over on the western bank of the Zeribets River. So this is Zeribets River around here. So anyway, this is a very significant frontline change. The loss of Andreevka is going to complicate the Ukrainian side further. So we move further down. Over at the Nevelsky-Makiivka region, there is fighting reported at the Battle of Makiivka, and the Russian forces are still continuing to put pressure on Nevsky. So there is no news regarding Makiivka. Makiivka is a very similar situation as Andreevka. They have a crossing over to the other side of the river, and this is a much bigger village, and it could act as a much better forward operating position. So move into the Kremina front. At the Kremina front, Russian forces are attacking in the Dibrova and the Torsky region, but that's all we know. Nothing much else is being reported in this region here. So over at the Sivas front, Russian forces continue to attack in the Sivas offensive, with fighting reported at Kayamsky, Sperny, Vimka, and Perezny. So there is no more Rozdolivka. Rozdolivka is now history. Fighting is now Perezny. So if you look at the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, they themselves say Perezny, which means that they have conceded by omission that they have lost Rozdolivka, because you can't fight at Perezny without conquering Rozdolivka. So this is a tacit admittance that Rozdolivka has been lost to the Russian forces. That's why there is fighting reported at Perezny, which the Russians are attacking from the Rozdolivka region. There is no claims of fighting over at Fedorivka or the loss of Fedorivka by any side. So clearly the Russians can only attack from the Rozdolivka direction, which means that the Ukrainian Defense Ministry have admitted the loss of Rozdolivka by omission. So this is how we do analysis, and this is how information is true or not true. So over in the northern flank of the Bakhmut front, Russian forces are attacking at Zaliniansky, bad arrow, Zaliniansky, towards Novomakove, and they are also attacking in the Khorokhovka region. The Bakhmut front is getting very, very hot. As you can see, there's a lot of things happening around here. So this is the northern flank. In the central flank, Russian forces are attacking in the area of Kalinina. There is some rumors about possible Russian incursion over to the western banks of the canal. No guarantees yet. There is continued pressure on Chasivia. Generally, there is not much details about what is the fighting at Chasivia really means. And there is also fighting reported at or towards or near Stupovsky. And this is by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry to Stupovsky. And the fact that, again, the similar situation. To talk about fighting at Stupovsky, you have to concede that you have lost Ivanivsky. So this is the reality right now for the Ukrainian side. They are losing a lot of grounds. So anyway, this is the center flank of the Bakhmut front. In the southern flank, we actually have nothing. Only some fighting reported in the area of Klishchiivka. There is no closure to this claim capture of Klishchiivka and Andreevka. Until now, we still have no confirmation about the claims of these two settlements getting captured. So we just have to wait and see. Moving into the New York front, over there is Torak sector and the New York sector. At the Torak sector, Russian forces are not fighting, or at least not reported to be at Druzhba. They are fighting is reported at Pivnishny and Zalizny. So I'm now starting to map fighting at Toretsk, because the Russian Defense Ministry start to talk about Toretsk, and then Ukrainian Defense Ministry also talks about Toretsk. And however, on the Ukrainian side, I tend to feel like, when they talk about Torres, it's actually not referring to Druzhba. But I'm going to start mapping this because I do not know. Maybe the Russians have some advanced position and they are already attacking into Torres itself. So we can't tell. So we have to start mapping it as such. Ukrainians Humvee getting destroyed by the FPV along the highway. So over at the Pivnishny region. So that's it from this Torres offensive. No updates. So the lack of update means that the next drop of information is going to be pretty big. So just brace yourself. And for those pro-Ukrainians that are still watching, I'm amazed that you're still watching, because the reality is so pro-Russian to the point where I suspect the reality is getting paid, by Putin. So I hope the reality, I hope you enjoy the rubles. Hope you can buy something with your rubles. So over at New York front, there is fighting reported at New York and also at Alexandropil. There is no updates regarding these two regions. So that's it from the New York front. We move into the Avdiivka front. In the northern flank of the Avdiivka front, Russian forces attacking at Novo-Alexandrivka, Vodizenka, towards Luzovatsky progress, and probably in the region of Voshchev, but it was not mentioned in any reports. And in this region here, there is some frontline change over at this west of Novo-Alexandrivka, Luzovatsky, in the progress region. So I've covered this in the frontline changes report. So I talk about the more significant ones. Russian forces have captured entire of Luzovatsky. So I've declared Luzovatsky and Progress both captured by the Russian forces. Russian forces also advanced north of Progress, which means that we are now looking at a pincer. So which means that if there is any Ukrainian forces, which I hope there isn't, they're going to get encircled and wiped out. So the next update, probably this entire area will be run under Russian control. If there is, they need to run away right now, but they are unlikely to succeed in the running away because this distance between the two flanks is merely 700 meters. So if you go through the center, it'll be 300 to 400 meters distance. You are under assault rifle range. You will get shot. So I don't think this is basically operationally encircled. The Ukrainian forces here is forfeited. So over the Progress region, the Russian forces have basically taken the entire settlement, and it seems to be pretty intact, generally speaking, which means that the Ukrainian forces have left the settlement without much of a fight. They might go into Voshchev, but I think the Russians is going to attack Voshchev next, and there is this push coming from Yehernivka direction. In the pincer operation, this settlement unlikely to hold as well. So I expect the Ukrainians to also have withdrawn from Voshchev entirely as well. So this is the situation over at the Progress region. So you move into the center flank. There is fighting reported at Novoselivka, Persia. No updates currently, so expect some big drops later, in the next few days. And fighting reported at Yasnoborodivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. We move to the southern flank. There is fighting reported at the Kharkivka, as well as in the Nevelsky region. In the Nevelsky region is purely based on the geolocation, and the geolocation, as mentioned in the frontline changes report, Russian forces have cleared out the salient northwest or northeast of Nevelsky. So I think we're going to see Nevelsky getting challenged again. But the Ukrainian lines around Nevelsky seems to be pretty strong, so I don't expect very quick progress from the Russians in this area here. So we move into the Donetsk front. So this is the Donetsk front so there's Krasnohorivka, the Marinka sector, the Konstantinivka sector, Vodian sector, as well as the Velika Novosibirsk sector. So over the Battle of Krasnohorivka, we finally have updates for the Battle of Krasnohorivka, and as usual, the information drop is huge because it's probably covering multiple days of actions, and Russian forces. This entire drop is triggered by a geolocation of Russian forces, and this forced the Ukrainian side to admit that the Russian forces have taken huge grounds all around here, and of course this incursion by the Russian armor. So this forced the Ukrainians to admit that the Russians have made huge progress in this entire northern half of Krasnohorivka. Russian mapping also reacted, and they have claimed that the entire northeastern part and the entire central part has been taken by the Russian forces. So Ukrainian the resistance within this main part of Krasnohorivka is very small right now. The amount of territory, we are talking about a front line of merely maybe 2 kilometers. So it's not going to be much more before the Russians overrun the Ukrainian position. So, but of course, every Ukrainian soldier die, 2,000 Russian soldiers will die. So it's worth it. It's a battle of attrition. They say, this is a battle of attrition. The Russians are not going to win this attritional war. Because Ukrainians are all filled with superheroes. So we move into the Georgivka region. Russian forces are attacking in the Georgivka region. Probably it's actually referring to the southern part where the Russian forces have made some progress around here, particularly due to the geolocation. We can confirm Russians advance around in this area south of Georgivka. And we move further south. There is fighting reported in Paraskoviyevka, fighting reported at Konstantinivka, and towards Vodian. So, but no much updates regarding this region. The Russians are also not storming Konstantinivka just yet. So we shall wait and see when the Russians want to start the Battle of Konstantinivka. I think they're not ready because, as I always mention, if the Russians have only one vector of attack, if this is the only way to attack, this is just one direction, it's not enough. The Russians want to have more ways to conquer a ground. If not, they're going to take heavy losses. So we're going to see further actions, maybe some forces taking the north, and then they can actually attack from the north as well, coming in a pincer, or the Russians take Paraskoviyevka. That could also maybe work. But there is a river in the north of Konstantinivka, so maybe the other way is for the Russians to take the southern part and then do a northern swing. That's also possible. So anyway, the Battle of Konstantinivka is not going to start anytime soon. So we move on. Over at the Velika Novosilka sector, so Russian forces are attacking towards Makarivka, towards Blahodane, and towards Storozheve. So this advance probably is not very strong. I think it's probably just softening the targets, some shelling reports, some shelling or whatnot. I don't think this is an assault. Ukrainian Defense Ministry mentioned Staromayorsky as the one that is the area is fighting. So in the Ukrainian perspective, the fighting is still closer to Staromayorsky than Makirivka. So let's see how this develop over in this sector. Moving into the Zaporizhia front, at the Zaporizhia front, Russian forces are attacking across the entire front line in multiple locations at Myrny, Belohirya, Malatomashka, towards Novodanilivka, Pyatikaki, as well as Kayamsky. So this, as usual, as mentioned, Zaporizhia front is very active, but it's not yet a full-blown offensive just yet. It feels like the Russians are looking for a weak spot. They are studying and making further future plans. So I won't be surprised in a month or two, the Russians may activate a Zaporizhia offensive. Maybe earlier, maybe later, and because to take advantage of the weaknesses probably that is developed due to the redeployment of forces over to the Kharkiv front. That happened at the New York front. So I wouldn't be surprised this front line is also severely weakened due to the Kharkiv offensive. So let's see how this develop. Over at the Kherson front, the most boring front right now, it's supposed to be boring, but the Ukrainian Defense Ministry is very interesting. They say that there's fighting reported in the Krinky area. They still say that there's fighting in the Krinky area. So from now on, I'm going to perceive this as north of Krinky in the islands region. They also mentioned fighting in the area of Kozachi Lahiri. Similarly, I'm going to put it as north of Kozachi Lahiri because I don't think the Ukrainians have any more positions over in the southern bank. And there is also fighting later being reported in the left bank of the Dnipro River in the Dniprovska direction. Dniprovsk is over here, so I would imagine that the Russians are attacking in this area here. So battles are in the islands region. So we shall wait and see how this develop. In the Kherson front, the Ukrainians have a lot of drones, so they have some drones advantage around this region. So I think the Ukrainians will do okay in this area. So that's it. So this is the situation report or the summary for the day of 878 for the 20th of July. So thank you for watching. Do press the like button. Every time you press the like button, 20,000 Russian soldiers will die for no apparent reason. So if not, you can also press the like button to revive 20,000 Russian soldiers. No, it depends on the spell that you cast when you click on the like button, and press the subscribe button if you want to follow my coverage of the Ukraine war and to know the reality on the ground, which is every time there's an airstrike, 10 Russian soldiers will die for no reason. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next update.